Hi everyone, sorry if you can hear the fan. It is warm and I'm trying to cool down. So I decided to start this series where I'm talking about my hits and my misses for the previous month. So now that we're in September, I wanted to talk about all of the books that I read last month, but the ones that I liked the most, I'm going to talk about in this video. I'll have another video where I talk about my least favorites and the reasons why they're my least favorites. So the first one is, I'd have to say, is Twisted Games by Huang. Now the characters are Princess Bridget and Reese. This is a princess and bodyguard romance. Now this one here, I really enjoyed it because you got Princess Bridget, who she really does not want to be queen. That's something that's never been in her cards. She never strived to want to be a queen or anything like that. Her brother is older, so her brother was always, going to be taking the throne. Well, while she's in college, something happens, different things happen. And her bodyguard Booth ends up not retiring, but like taking more of like medical leave because his wife's going to be having a baby soon. So he wants to obviously take some kind of paternity leave. And so they go and get another guy to come in to basically be her bodyguard. And so it's Reese Larson. Now Reese is very much like, this is also kind of like a grumpy sunshine type of trope where she seems like she's a little bit more happy and he seems like more like stone, like you can't crack him. So what happens is they kind of like start off on the wrong foot where, he basically tells her her house is a security risk. And so she's like looking at him like, what the heck, dude? Who the heck are you to tell me, that my house is a security risk? So yeah, they really start off on the wrong foot. And the way this is, even though I would consider this to be slow burn, I really don't like slow burn, but the buildup of this book is what really did it for me. That's what really did it for me, because they start out really just not liking each other. He's kind of like has this attitude like a princess, kind of thing. And she thinks he's a jerk. And so it builds up from them not liking each other, even though they're attracted to each other, not liking each other, to starting to become like friends, and then friends to lovers, basically. And I liked different things that she had did in here. She wasn't, she wasn't dumb. She was very smart, very smart. And so right when things are like starting to kind of like get a little bit, to shift for them and change, her brother decides to abdicate his throne. So he basically is like, look, the way the law is, I have to marry a royal. I don't want to marry a royal. I'm in love with this other woman, and I'd rather just abdicate the throne, not go for it, and marry for love, instead of marrying for duty or marrying for royalty. Which, can we just say that law is so like extinct, the fact that you would still have a law like that in today's time, that you would say, oh, well, you can only marry royalty. Come on now. So to me, it was just kind of a ridiculous law, but I liked the different things that went on in this book to kind of help fight that, fight the law, fight that, all the stuff for it. I really enjoyed myself, and that's why I ended up giving this one 5 stars, because it was really well done. I loved the buildup of it. I could dig a slow burn romance as long as the buildup is continuous, To where some other books out there, it's like it kind of slows down, and then I'm like, like it sputters. And I hate when a book sputters. So for me, that one was a great build up, slow burn romance. I actually liked that one because that's the second book in that Twisted series. That one I liked a little bit more than I liked the first book. First book I gave 4 stars. This one I give 5 because it was better. Definitely was better. So the next book I would say I really enjoyed for the month of August is Ruby Dixon's Steph's Outcast. Now this is a part of the Ice Home series, book 14, so it's pretty up there. So we've got the stories of Steph, Juth, and I also put Pack in there. So I said this was just a really cute romance. So you have Steph, and Steph is kind of relegated to kind of being the person to come to about your problems, you know, like she was, when she was on Earth before she was abducted by aliens, she was studying to be like a psychiatrist, things like that, you know. So clearly, you know, she knows what she's doing. You know, she was almost at the point of graduating. So we open with her talking with the last couple, and I didn't like the last couple. They drove me nuts. And so she wants to be, you know, basically of some kind of help, you know, to the tribe kind of thing. And so she starts leaving these like little gift baskets, you know, for Juth and Pack. And Juth and Pack were introduced from the last book, and they basically were outcasts, considered outcasts from their clan on the island because they were born different, which is in itself ridiculous. You know, the fact that the tribe is going to treat, you know, them differently because they weren't born with like maybe long horns and things like that, or their coloring is a little bit different, and it's like that to me is a bit like prejudiced, you know, on their part. So, you know, I thought it was dumb, you know, the whole like concept of like, oh, they're cast out, and it's like, you know, that just irritated me. But I really enjoyed this because I loved the found family in this, where, you know, the humans, you know, are basically like, hey, you know, we need to make the best of this situation because we can't go back to Earth. You know, we can't go back to Earth. There's no way we can go back there. So, you know, your Qui in your chest there obviously has to resonate to somebody, you know, so you can create a family and all of that. So I really liked this story here because you have Juth, who's struggled his whole life, you know, just his whole life to go and take care of himself, you know, and their living is very, I guess you'd say, primitive, very basic. The only thing that really in your life, you know, is you hunt, you find your food, you know, you have your family. You know, you really have this, what's the most important, you know, in life. Where us, you know, we have our phones, we have our technology, we have our tablets, we have TV, you have all this different stuff, books. You have all these things to kind of take up your time. Their time is taking care of each other, you know, taking care of each other, hunting for food, surviving. Their whole thing is like survival, you know. And so you kind of look at the fact that we live a very privileged life here on Earth, you know, very privileged life. Some, I would say, have more struggles than others on this planet. But, you know, we are definitely more privileged because you could, you know, especially in America, you can go to the grocery store at any time and buy food. You don't have to hunt for it. So this here, it's like, I really liked that Juth took on the care of Pack, who was another outcast. And he basically raised him since he was a baby, which I thought was like just adorable. It's just so sweet that he went and took on the responsibility of being this child's dad, even though it wasn't his son. and raised pack. It was just so sweet, such a cute romance. And, you know, them basically, you know, him learning to trust Steph, you know, kind of a gradual thing, learning to trust her. And there was a little bit of a conflict in here of like, you know, he thinks that she's, you know, his mate, which is understandable because they come from a different culture. You know, your cultures are going to be different. You have to kind of like both learn to acclimate to each other's culture, you know, learn to, you know, understand each other more, you know. And so there was a little bit of conflict with her to where she didn't properly explain it to him like at the beginning. And so there was a little bit of a conflict there. But other than that, I really enjoyed the romance a lot. It's definitely one of my favorites from Ruby Dixon. I do have my favorites. Some I like a lot better than others. Some just didn't do it for me, like the last one in her series really didn't do it for me with Bridget and Adam. I really didn't like them as characters, you know, and didn't like them as a couple. So the next book I'm going to talk about is Run, Posey, Run. This is Cate C. Wells. This one here I really liked. I am not a huge mafia romance type of reader, but this one here had like a different twist to it, to where he wasn't like, he was in the mafia where he was like related to like the big honcho kind of person, but he wasn't like a son or something. He was the money man. He was the man where he, you know, was really smart and he knew how to work with bonds and, you know, work on the, you know, work really well with money. I'm trying to think of the thing that you do. I can't think of it. Stock market. That's what it is. Can't think of it. Stock market. He works well with the stock market. So Posy basically comes home one day because she's living with Dario. And he basically has this sex tape of her with this guy. And from the timestamp, it looks like it's recent. And so, of course, he's mad, understandable. And he kicks her out. Well, she leaves. But his, you know, kind of like his driver, his everyday kind of man, you know, kind of like a bodyguard kind of thing. He tells her, hey, so-and-so, he doesn't leave, you know, witnesses behind. So you need to run as far away, because if the big honcho, you know, guy catches you, you're done, you know. So she splits, you know, she leaves. And then soon after, Dario realizes that it was a mistake, you know. And so he's like, you know, no, I want her. I still want her, but I want to kind of punish her kind of thing. And so he manages to drag her back. And then what proceeds is I kind of think of it almost as like a couples therapy. Because you have these characters where Posy pretty much has been the type of girlfriend where whatever you wanted, she did, you know? Kind of reminds me of the character in Coming to America for the wife, you know? He's like, what do you like? Anything you like, kind of thing. She really didn't put her needs above, you know, her boyfriend's. And so any boyfriend she had, the guy really just treated her like dirt. And so it's like, why do you accept that for yourself? You know, so for her, he kind of like was analyzing her like, hey, you know, I see that you don't like this. Why did you say you liked it if you didn't like it? You know, so it's basically her kind of confronting herself, you know, confronting, you know, like, yeah, why did I let this guy, you know, these guys do this stuff to me when I didn't like it, you know? So it was basically that. And their relationship before, I really don't see how it was much of a relationship, because as it progressed, you see like them becoming like deeper connected to each other and learning more about each other. And you know, him doing stuff that he never did at the beginning of the relationship. So almost kind of like this here, like him seeing this tape, you know, and everything that happened afterwards, that almost kind of like was a good thing that it happened, for the fact that it really kind of deepened their relationship and made it better, you know, made things much better for them and, you know, for the relationship. So if it wasn't for that sex tape, you know, their relationship may not have lasted, or she would have just settled for mediocre, you know, and it really got better for her. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. So the next one I'm going to talk about is Dizzy. Now this one here, the way this series is you have to, like, the author has them numbered a certain way, but I would say what you need to do is you go on her website and she will tell you how the order of the books are chronologically. I want to read a book chronologically. I don't want to read it, you know, where it's like, oh, well, this couple got together before this couple. You know, it'll be confusing for me. So I decided to read this book first. Now, this is an MC romance. The characters are Faley and Dizzy. His real name is Dwayne. So it's MC romance. There's some baby mama drama in here. I'm just letting you know. Emotionally scarred heroine, age gap, kinky sex. All of the books in this series, all are age gaps. They're all age gaps. So you have Faley, and she basically comes from like a dead-end town, and she decides to leave her small dead-end town because she wants to get away from her family. Even though she loves her family, she was basically treated as like the babysitter. She was the one who picked up the pieces of their broken relationships, you know, of their broken, you know, of them being broken people. I feel that because I definitely identified with Faley a lot, because growing up for me, I've always kind of felt like I was the one who was picking up the pieces for my family. So, so this one here, I really liked her character a lot. She was spunky too, and she made me laugh. And so Dizzy ends up getting involved with her because she ends up getting caught at their clubhouse. The guy who had drove her there, because she was hitchhiking, which is not smart in itself, but you know, when you're desperate, you're desperate. So she was hitchhiking and she went and got on the back of this guy's bike. Well, he's a part of a rival gang kind of thing, rival MC gang. So he stopped off at the MC's, you know, house, and you end up finding out that he was doing some stuff like undercover stuff that he shouldn't have been doing. So he ended up getting, you know, and so she was looking for him because she's like, he's my ride, you know, he had her bag, you know, she couldn't find her phone. And so she ends up like squatting for how many days, like outside of the motorcycle club area, because she didn't have money to keep going on. So they end up finding out about it. And so Dizzy decides he's going to go and have her as like his house mouse kind of thing, you know, help clean out his house, you know, all that stuff. And so he's attracted to her. He's really attracted to her, and she's attracted to him. And so it builds from there. He has 2 sons, and she's kind of like helps, you know, watch them and all that stuff. The thing that I didn't like about this book, I would say, is the baby mama drama, because his ex was a POS. You know, she was not a good person. She was not a good person. She was focused more on like her career and all that stuff than, you know, being around for her kids. But then she goes and she acts like that he's a bad dad, and it's like, come on, lady, come on. But it was really good. I really enjoyed it. You know, I loved seeing the progression of them, like, you know, and their relationship. And it was kind of like spicy. It definitely had some kinky stuff to it, you know. She was into different stuff and he was willing to oblige her, you know. So yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Okay, the last one I'm going to talk about is Scrap by Cate C. Wells. I decided to just keep going along with the series. Is this straight? I decided to keep going along with the series and reading. It was a couple of books before this book that I really just didn't care for. But this one here I gave 4 stars. Now this one here is about Scrap and Krista. Now there's trigger warnings for talk of sexual assault in here, physical assault with a knife, being unable to conceive, and PTSD. So this is also a age gap romance. This also slow burn. So for me, I'm like, this story was really emotional. So 10 years ago, you have the character of Krista. Now she's more shy and, you know, kind of thing, keeps to herself. And her and like Scrap kind of like, you see that they liked each other, but Scrap wasn't willing to do anything with her, you know, before, because she was 16, you know, she was underage, and he didn't want to, you know, obviously get in trouble. Plus he knew her dad and knew that, you know, he would probably kick his butt, you know. So Krista gets in a situation where she ends up getting attacked, sexually assaulted, and stabbed. So Scrap ends up killing the guy who hurt her, and he goes away for 10 years. So 10 years has gone by. She's definitely dealt with a lot of after effects of this assault. PTSD is really high for her. Anything kind of sets her off, and she starts kind of curling into herself and just really retreating into herself, isolating herself. And she's changed, like physically, like she's gained some weight, and she doesn't wear like dresses anymore. She kind of wears like stuff more of like a tomboyish type of thing. She cut her hair like really short. So she really just, I'm thinking she wants to make herself as ugly as possible, because that's basically how she feels on the inside, you know. She feels ugly. So she's trying to cover things up, you know, cover up her body, because her body has scars. She's no longer able to reproduce because of her getting stabbed in her, you know, abdomen area. And she dealt with a lot of stuff all up in here, a lot of mental stuff. And Scrap comes home, and all he wants to see is Krista. All he wants to see is her, because that's all he's thought about is being with her. You know, he knew he couldn't be with her before, but now she's older, you know, he wants to be with her, you know. And he didn't care about her scars. He didn't care about any of that stuff. He just wanted to be with her. So this here took like a bit for him to kind of like help her warm back up to him and trust him, and have it to where he helped push her outside her comfort zone, but not in a way to where it had her retreat back. Now there was an incident where they were getting intimate, and she started to have a, you know, a freak out. And so he was kind of like trying to be gentle with her, like, you know, it's okay, it's all right, you know. And she really had to look at the fact that she was retreating into herself, and she knew that that wasn't good, that she, you know, she had to fight, you know, she had to be a fighter and overcome, you know, this trauma, you know. Now of course, with what she went through, she's never going to go back to like being 100%, but you can live with you know, lived through that trauma, and, you know, it becomes your like new normal. And so for her, that's basically what it was, is her having this new normal of the type of relationship that she wanted to have with Scrap. He was really gentle with her, really took his time, you know, he really wanted to just be with her, and it didn't matter to him about any of the stuff that went on with, you know, her scars and all of that stuff. He just wanted her. You know, he's always wanted her. Ever since he could remember, he's always wanted her. And so, you know, he never like pushed anything, you know, maybe he'd do like some flirting or something like that with her when she was younger, but nothing that I felt like it was inappropriate, you know. But this one here was really good. It's an emotional one. So if you're not like interested in that, you know, then that would be something I would skip. But this one here, it's like, this series here has 2 prologues, you know, like 2 beginning ones, you know, stories, because you have, oh crap, my thing froze on me, come on. Yeah, you have like the first book, which is Twitch, and that one there is like the early 1970s, and then you have ones that are like taking place now. But these ones here, it's like, I'd say I really liked the beginning stories, and then the one I'm reading now is Roosevelt, and that's a part of the same series. And that one there is a novella. That's a novella. And this one here is pretty good too. And this one is another age gap romance, except he's younger and she's older. So so far it's pretty cute. I like it. But yeah, that's it for this video here. These are the ones that I really, really enjoyed. My next video, I'm going to talk about the ones that just didn't do it for me and the reasons why they didn't do it for me. So that way you know. But yeah, that's it for this video here. Have yourselves a good day. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. Be safe out there. And I will see you all on the next video. All right. Bye.